Takbir. We thank Malam Nasir Mohammed for the beautiful presentation. He has taken us through patient-centered care, a path to wholesome wellness. He has talked about so many things. He has said patient is a major reason why we are in the health care profession, and we should value them. We should give them the utmost care. We should also we should be patient-centered. We should give them the better outcome by taking preferences for their satisfaction. The advantage of patient-centered care is the patient will be satisfied and there will be better outcome. There are 6 dimensions to patient-centered care, which includes responsiveness to patients' preferences and their needs. We should respect their values. We should be coordinated and be integrated. There should be provision and we should provide information and communication to the patient's education. We should also ensure physical comfort for the patient. We should be careful about their emotion. We should care about their emotion. We should also provide emotional support for the patient. Then, overcoming these challenges. We all know that one of the major reasons why there are issues in the hospital is time constraints. So he said these challenges can be overcome by division of labor, by reducing the workload of somebody, by reducing the workload of people that are working in the hospital. There should also be a balance to patient preference and their clinical guidance. It doesn't mean all what they bring should be entertained. You have to balance the pros and cons. They are clinical. You have to use your clinical guidance to take some decision at some times. And he also talked about clinical decision support system. He concluded by saying patient is the main reason why we are in the hospital. We should ensure we will better their care to provide a better outcome. So we welcome questions and comments for the 2 speakers. Thank you.
Zainab said, self-care. Care for yourself first. Understand yourself and care for yourself. Love yourself and care for your soul. That gives you stability as a practitioner. Then after that, you can then care for the patient. But if you have not taken care of yourself, how can you care for the patient? How can you have patient-centered care? So this session is a fantastic session. And I really strongly believe that we should record it and reshare it and re-listen to it. Now my question. Talking about patient-centered care, patient is our focus. Yesterday, somebody was asking a question or talking about maltreating patients, beating patients. And people were saying, Then PRO said, yes, some patient needs to be beaten. I said, sure. So if that is the case, how do you manage a stubborn patient? You want to care for the patient. You want your care to be patient-centered. Now you have a stubborn patient. Do you beat the patient? How do you care for that patient? Thank you.
Very much. My question goes to the first presented person of Dr. Zainab. The question I want to ask is, please, ma, burnout, I want to know, is it a psychiatric illness? Because the reason why I asked this question is yesterday, when we arrived, we're talking about a colleague of mine, a medical doctor. So the person was saying, this person, okay, isn't it, when I mentioned the name of the doctor, he said, is it not that doctor that behaves as if he has a psychiatric illness? But I know, because I've been working with this person over 10 years. And just subsequently, some behavior started coming, but I feel he's actually getting burned out. So I want to know, is he actually a psychiatric illness? And then finally, please, how do we balance work-life balance? Thank you.
Question is about the massage scoring system. I want to know much about it and who is to do it for me. This is one. The second presenter who presented about the patient-centered care, I want to just make a comment. I was referred to take a child to Equa Eye Hospital in Kano, where I see a lot of patients who are there in the queue since 3 a.m. And the consultations and other activities are to take place in the 8 a.m., by 8 a.m. So as we were there in the queue, a sermon, preaching, prayers are ongoing. Most of the patients are Fulanis that comes for cataract surgery and other eye care problems. So finally, they told us that those that are coming late, they have VIP services. You come late, but you pay 10,000 naira, then you would be facilitated and be seen, and then you go. So I left that place. I think I was there 3 a.m. I left the place 3 p.m. But the volume of patients, if it is in the other institutions, I may be there for 2 days. But because of the technology, you go there, they enhance the services, it was very good. So what I'm advising is that it's a challenge to us that we can pick it from there. I have seen in the other societies where expert systems are being developed, you even go and slot some of your cards, and then the card will ask you, the terminal will ask you, you press some symptoms, and then the prescriptions will be dispatched to you. Thank you very much.
Dr. Kaltungo.
Alaikum again, wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What is your definition of a psychiatric illness? The reason why I shy away from using psychiatric illness is because that term is discriminatory and it gives the impression that the person is, in quotes, raving mad. If, because of your work, like I described, my friend who on Sunday evenings has frank signs of being ill, that is a mental illness. And if she hadn't sought help, the next thing is be like, oh, we realize that Dr. XYZ has a psychiatric illness. There are very few, in quotes, psychiatric illnesses that just, they manifest the way we see them de novo. They start a little at a time. And this is the point where I will say that when it comes to burnout, stress, and things, the way women and men manifest it is a bit different. So men tend to manifest with maladaptive behavior. So you have somebody who, when you knew him, was, in quotes, a normal person, even though the definition of normal is depends on you. And then all of a sudden, he starts to skip work, he becomes aggressive, he's beginning to drink, he's beginning to smoke, he's beginning to party and sleep out. That is him calling out for help. Unlike women, the same set of stressors, the woman is likely to just blank out and then just keep going through until the day she breaks down. So if you find a woman who ordinarily was a very responsive person, was very caring, suddenly becomes aloof, something is wrong. So that's my response to that. If you want to discuss it further, we can meet on the side after. But I think I should have said a really huge thank you to the first brother who spoke and said that if you are not fine as a health worker, there is no way you can provide really good health care. It is like we're all sitting down here, everything is calm. We forget those who organized this program. Dr. Kadri reached out to me about this presentation almost 3 months ago, and I started to put my slide together. But we're likely to forget all that because they have done so much work. You've watched a film, everything is fine, at the Oscars, everybody looks nice. But have you listened to the Me Too movement? Have you listened to the sexual harassment and all the kind of abuses that went behind the scenes to produce that really beautiful movie you saw? Almost all of us, when we were going through medical school, they might not have called it patient-centered care, but they're like, the patient is everything, the patient is everything. Well, I'm here to tell you that, darling, take care of you first, and then somehow, if you're true to yourself and you say, I cannot make work today, God will take care of that patient. Just a quick question, just a quick story. When I was a senior registrar, there was a patient who was coming all the way from Ondo State for some kind of surgery. And I was the only senior registrar who was on ground. The others had taken their leave. my consultant was not going to be available. And I had this really terrible cold. But I was like, oh, what will happen to the patient? Because if he cancels, because of how terrible those big institutions were, if he cancels that surgery, only God knows how long he was going to be able to get the surgery again. This was somebody, he had this really huge keloid that was about the size of his head. It was discharging, it was really smelly. And I came for that surgery, I operated on that patient. I thought I was doing good. Imagine if it was COVID I had at that time, if it was the time of COVID, I would have infected the patient. I probably would have died because of the added stress. I would have infected those in theater. So darlings, please take care of yourself. Be honest. If you are not ill, don't say you're ill. But if you're truly ill, please take care of yourself. There's something called presenteeism. When you're ill, you show up for work, you're not productive, they cannot find somebody to cover you, the patient is suffering, the work is suffering. So please, I beg of you, you cannot serve from an empty vessel. Take care of yourself. Then there was a question about Maslach score. There are free ones. It is only if you now want somebody to administer it to you and give you a prescription for what to do, that's when you're going to have to pay. And the link I provided is where you can get a free one. There's several free ones, but that's the one that I feel is very easy to understand for anybody, irrespective of your specialty. And then somebody said work-life balance, how? I think work-life balance, at least as I understood it, is a myth. Life itself continuously tilts left, right. When it tilts in one direction, what can you do to tilt it back so that you have balance? So, healthy boundaries, remember that picture I projected about self-love? So for example, I'll give an example of myself. At the time, I was the only plastic surgeon in our hospital. And for a 300-kilometer radius, you couldn't find a plastic surgeon. And I was feeling like Superwoman. I wanted to do everything. And I think that was part of the reason for my burnout. On the days when you feel, there was a day I had to have double extraction. And I had clinic that day. I went in the middle of clinic, had the double extraction. I was given very heavy doses of co-morphine. I was taking morphine and sipping coke in front of the patient. Excuse me, who did I impress? Who did I impress? So work-life balance in that day is for me to say, this is clinic. Emergencies hardly ever come to clinic. Matron, please postpone. I will see the patient next week. Somehow God will take care of the patient. And then this question was not exactly directed to me, the one about the Ekwa Hospital. I like the challenge. If you do not like what is happening, do something to change it. Huge lessons from Stoicism. If you've never read anything about Stoicism, I think you need to go and read a very short summary. There are many short summaries. And they say that as entrepreneurs, you see an opportunity, there's a problem, provide a solution from it and make money from it. So that is an opportunity for us. He didn't say anything about the sermons, but darling, they said Ekwa, they didn't say Iman Ekwa. So if you do not like the preaching, don't go to Ekwa. Thank you.
It's only one question, and I want to use my experience to answer it in a snappy way. The stubborn patient, most times are isolated cases. They are not more than 1% of the patients that we see. Certainly, there are some isolated instances. During the course of my training in Lagos University Teaching Hospital, I was not there when it happened, but we were given the story that at a point in time, the University Teaching Hospital has a policy that at that time when HIV/AIDS was really new. So when a patient is diagnosed with HIV/AIDS, is a chief consultant physician, the head of the department that will break the news to the patient. And one unfortunate day, and also one unfortunate instance, the head of department came to inform one of their patients that he is HIV positive. And as soon as, after all the preamble, as soon as he broke the news that we found that you are HIV positive, and the patient has AIDS, actually not HIV positive, he has AIDS with tuberculosis. And the young person just, what would I say in Hausa, kaki, the sputum, the sputum from his throat, he brought it and spit onto the face of the head of department, telling him that this is what is happening. And he said, I do not have HIV/AIDS. Now your papa and mama has HIV/AIDS. And from then on, the university decided that they will change their way of informing patients if they are HIV positive. There are instances. Apart from patient-centered care, I'm also working on student-centered learning. And student-centered learning is also like that. There are instances a teacher will come to class and the student will tell him, please stay outside, we are having a meeting, and you don't have anything to do. So most of us, as clinicians, as teachers, we are product of the teacher-centered learning and also product of clinician-centered care. And that's why we find it difficult. But like I said, it's isolated cases. And isolated cases, usually, I think the presentation Dr. Zainab has given will give us the answer that you first of all have the mental tranquility. I think taking care of yourself is about the tranquility that is needed to take care of stubborn patients. If you have the needed tranquility, you will get a way to manage it. In A&E departments, there are some instances where patients can even be violent, very violent, and maybe sometimes you have to restrict them or you have to use the police. The psychologists have very many methods of managing and also modifying. It is all about trust. Some of the stubbornness are because the patients do not have trust in what you are doing. So if you try to instill trust into them, they will abide, they will be law-abiding, and also they will be easy to manage. Allahu alam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.